Good morning, my fellow marketing chums. Today is Thursday, January 27th, and today I want to go over the 4 C's of marketing for small business. And today I have a special treat for you. We're going to go back to some vintage websites from the 90s, so stay tuned for that. So I was doing a little bit of research, just trying to get an idea for how much the virus has affected our online habits, and I came across some very interesting information from the New York Times, and it helped me kind of set up what I want to talk about today. The digital realm is more a part of our lives than ever. Digital marketing is so much larger in percentage of importance to traditional marketing that a new marketing mix can make audience building for small businesses easier. So why are we doing this? Last week we talked about how the history of marketing has never been about small businesses and how the web has created this new digital realm which is ideal for small businesses. This week, I want to talk about a new marketing model I believe small businesses have been demonstrating and how different it is than what traditional marketing has been telling us. But first, I want to make sure that we keep asking the question, what are we trying to accomplish? What I think we're trying to do is we're trying to help small businesses build their audiences and convert to customers at the lowest cost. Now, I believe the center to accomplishing this mission is in providing a team of marketing interns with specialties in Squarespace content management, email marketing, social media, video, photography, writing, graphic design, e-commerce, and project management. That's a pretty big list, but I wanted to be kind of specific about the kind of things that we're trying to train these kids to do. And then I want to engineer a marketing strategy that's designed to be managed by these resources. So a lot of times what I try and tell people when they ask, we want to build a website, I say, we want to build a website that's easy for interns to manage. That's our goal. So the first thing I want to do is I want to look back at what the most common marketing pillars is the 4 Ps, which is product, price, place, and promotion. The 4 Ps of marketing is a concept that summarizes the basic pillars of any marketing strategy, and it was first conceived in 1953 by Neil Borden after a colleague of Borden's described marketers as mixers of ingredients. Those ingredients were further refined in 1960 by E. Jerome McCarthy when he nailed down the 4 that are still popular today. Product, an item or service that satisfies your need or want. Price, an amount you'll pay or sacrifice for a product or service. And then place, where you can get it and how easy it is to get. And then promotion, marketing communications, advertising, PR, direct marketing, and sales. In the 1980s, the American Marketing Association extended it to 7 Ps, which would be people, which are the people of a company that interact with customers. Process, which is the procedures and mechanisms and how a service is delivered. And then physical evidence, the space in which a product or service is exchanged, kind of like the retail store and whatnot, offices. Now, there have been criticisms of the 4 Ps, one of them being that a well-designed model should exhibit clearly defined categories. And there's a lot of really good examples of things that kind of cross over the different Ps and make that hard. The marketing mix lacks a strategic framework and is therefore unfit to be a planning instrument. A lot of times I think about Asana as being one of my favorite, and I do wonder how you would take the 4 Ps and push it into an Asana project. My personal experience has been that not a single customer I've worked with the past 20 years has ever asked about or expressed their marketing ideas within this framework, with the only exception being promotion. Now note there are also a 4 Cs, which is consumer, cost, convenience, and communication. And they're described as a modern marketing mix model, but it's more of a modification, in my opinion, of the 4 Ps rather than a radical new way to look at marketing. All right, so a new marketing mix for small business. The 4 Cs: content, consistent, conversion, and cost. When I started building websites for small businesses in the mid-90s, it was the first time most small companies were doing any marketing. They had brochures, catalogs, and business cards, but they weren't creating commercials or radio spots. They had very little in the form of content, like most new websites in the early days. And speaking of that, let's take a look at some of these old websites. Vintage websites from the 90s. So let's take a look at the first one here. I did that in Times New Roman font and Arial, and then a nice little click here. All right, so this is the first webpage that went up in August of 1991. There's lots of history on that, but that's the first webpage ever made that we've ever seen, 1991. Doesn't seem like that long ago, but first Amazon, 1 million titles, and this is what their website looked like. I'm trying to see if there's a date on this particular one. No, I'm not seeing it. But there's the Amazon one. Microsoft, welcome to Microsoft's World Wide Web Server. Where do you want to go today? So that was a tagline that they were continuously using. Running HTTPS. All right, that's and Netscape, their competitor, came up with HTTPS, at least implemented on the first server. Look at this one. So this one's nice. This is actually Disney's, and it's in 1996, which is actually a pretty nice site compared to the last couple that we've seen. So that's Disney's website back in 96. White Castle. Homepage, 1996. Copyright right at the top of the page. Nobody better steal this. We're celebrating 75 years in 1996. Your Crave number broken graphic. And a turkey. I don't know why that's there. Oh, happy Thanksgiving. So that's the White Castle, but this one's even better. Welcome to McDonald's. Oh, man. Just click on the adults or kids to enter, either a kid or a grown-up. Have fun. Read the fine print. McDonald's Corp. 1996. CNN, not looking too bad. Really interesting is people often forget is that these websites were designed back in the days when 640 by 480 was the resolution of most monitors then. And the monitors were big, but they filled up the whole screen. If you made anything bigger than 640, a lot of times it went off their screen. And so that's why you get some looking like this when they're starting to do this kind of stuff. But this was the size of a monitor back then. Look at this, Space Jam. Now this is really interesting. Hard to read this, but it says, go behind the scenes of one of the most high-tech, high-concept, high-flying films ever made. See the early sketches of all the new animated characters and et cetera, et cetera. So interesting, not looking too high-tech, but again, back in the day it was high-tech. Look at this, Best Buy. Not bad, Best Buy. You got some columns. 1996, again, when you look at the first web page, in 91, I started working on websites in 95. One of the biggest things that we got excited about was when Netscape introduced tables so that we could lay things out like this instead of just lines. All you had was carriage returns and some graphics, images, and that's really, and sometimes some web browsers at the time didn't even support images. So this is actually standing out for 1996. Not bad, Best Buy, like the Christmas lights. Hillary Duff. Now, I pulled this one up because it's coming soon. Photos, latest news, biography, upcoming movies, contests, personal appearances, official fan club, and a few surprises. There's a lot of stuff coming soon. So back in the day, people would build websites and they'd have lots of pages on there that just had a coming soon on it. So, it was a bad deal, I guess, to not have stuff or not have placeholders for stuff. Found that interesting. American Airlines. So they're starting to, I don't see a date on this one. Oh, well, online by April 30th, 1998. So I think they are improving at this point. I think tables are starting to be used here because now we finally have some columns. But yeah, look at that, American Airlines. Apple, looking good. Now this one, I thought there was a date on here. I thought this was in 1996. I'm not sure. No, maybe not. Anyways, not a bad site for Apple. Not too bad at all, I gotta say. The Facebook, okay, not 1990s. This is 2004, but I couldn't resist because this is a story of, I can't remember who this individual was. I just recently read a biography on Facebook, and it was just kind of interesting, kind of the first page, and this is definitely it. This is the first Facebook page. Clorox.com, investor relations, number one. This is where your money's going to build these really cool websites. Company information, health, yeah, so not bad. Clorox. Yahoo. I'm not sure what year this was from, but Yahoo always started pretty clean, so I got to give them credit for kind of always being lean and clean, which is better than some of the other ones you're going to see or have seen. YouTube, again, not a 90s site. I think 2004 was it? I can't remember when YouTube came out. But here what we're starting to do is we're starting to build what they call the Chrome, and that's buttons and trying to kind of shape and make it feel like some kind of a thing rather than a bunch of text. And so that's YouTube's attempt at that. Google. This is a demo of the Google search engine. Note, it is a research in progress, so expect some downtimes and malfunctions. You can find the older Backrub webpage here. Pretty cool, Google. Liking it. Anyway, so that's our vintage websites. Thought you'd want to see that, and I bring that up because that was a good example of no content or really struggling to find content. Content has always been the bottleneck in putting up a website, since doing it now for over 22 years. Because of the lack of content and the ability to print in any color, i.e., we're no longer locked to 4-color printing like in brochures and whatnot, the Chrome of a website got all the treatment: buttons, drop shadows, backgrounds, header designs, and icons. The interface is where all the investment went. This lack of content spawned a design age that we're still in, where the look of a website precedes the content. Content has always been last. Most people and designers look at other websites for inspiration, and that makes sense. But because of this web design loop, and because most designers don't build what they design, we've been stuck into this content last platform. This is why content is the first C of my new marketing model and actually the center of all the others. Content. So I've told you the history of digital content. Why a new marketing model? Because the digital realm is so massively big and dynamic, aka fast, and a persistent part of our communications, marketing needs a new focal point. Why is content the center? Because in digital, it's like breathing. It's an exchange. It's the exchange. Everything counts as content. A like, a click, a comment, a photo, a purchase, blog posts, etc. Everything is content in the digital realm. In marketing, we put out content to draw an audience. When we use social media, we begin conversations. It's the content and then the content of the exchange that begins the relationship. Like breathing, content should flow and flow consistently, which is why the second C is consistent. So you've heard of content calendars. Since the beginning of web time, people have known that they need to create content. Most, like 99%, myself included, put content out there and then we don't touch it. This is an example of my content calendar in Google Docs. It's really simple. It's just bullets and dates and titles and sub-bullets for things that I want to be sure to cover. It's got a little bit of structure and that's it. I use comments to discuss or leave notes against bullets. And I find that it's a good way to keep the overall structure clean. So here's a consistency story I want to tell you. So I've studied several techniques for building audiences, including the suggestion that you need to be prepared to write 100 posts before seeing results. Blog posts are recommended to have 1,000 to 2,000 words in order to rank in the search engines. And then I wondered, what if the number of words in the post are irrelevant if you commit to posting once a week forever? If it costs you nothing to tell stories, for example, and make videos and record podcasts and take and share photos of your work, how fun would it be? How inspired would you feel when you push out ideas of your craft and get a bonanza of energy from your audience? It has never been cheaper to do all of these things than it is now. Where people fail most in grabbing the brass ring right in front of them is a lack of consistency. I discovered having a content outline and calendar provided a framework that makes doing this so fun you don't want to stop. Consistency, I think, can get you there. So the next C I have is conversion. So your content has to have a purpose, and that ultimate purpose most small businesses benefit from is making a sale. In order to make a sale, you need to build a relationship. A relationship can be as tiny as clicking once to look at more content. That relationship is also beneficial when it efficiently ends, as in, no, this is not what I'm looking for. What are you doing over there, bird? This is elegance in the precision of marketing when it's just as good at not connecting with you with the wrong people as it is with the right ones. A conversion plan can be really simple. What do we want somebody to do? Just keep asking that question. Even if you don't know the answer right away, balance everything against that desired outcome. Do we want them to call, join our newsletter, follow us on social media, give us a like? Every page, every click, every action should feed into the what do we want them to do next design. The fourth and final C is cost. By cost, I don't mean your product or service, but what it costs you to manage and produce your content. Based on building websites in Chicagoland the past 22 years, we've found that the going rate in 2021 to build a modern, professional, small business website was typically $4,000 to $10,000, but could be as much as $20,000 or more, depending on the number of pages on the site and the amount of customization required. So once you set your site up, how often are you producing new content and pushing it out to your audience? Many successful small business marketing efforts do involve a site that doesn't change much, but is highly tuned for a Google AdWords campaign. The problem with this advertising-driven model is that once you shut off advertising, your traffic plummets, whereas content-driven efforts can keep paying off indefinitely once you've tuned into that process. So, how do we bring the cost down to a fraction of the cost? Well, I would suggest consistency is the wrench that tightens down budgets and waste. Not at first, but quickly once you establish patterns, deadlines, and feedback. All right, so I want to give you a tip for this week, and it's how to execute the 4 C's. In the most simplest approach to a content-first audience building strategy, center everything around publishing content every Wednesday at 11 a.m. So why 11 a.m. on Wednesday? Because that's the average time and day for the most engagement based on a Sprout Social analysis of 20,000 customers. You can investigate further and fine-tune your specific audience, but start with this schedule and see how it goes. The most important thing is not to miss a post. Second, create a content calendar. Use Google Docs. List each Wednesday for the next 3 to 6 months and then title each post along with each date. Write the next 12 to 24 titles so there's a story arc or a relationship between each post. Also want to recommend each of these headlines could just be an answer to a question. Third, drive all of your posts to your website, which can be a simple landing page and a blog. Tease people with your posts so that they have to click through to your site, and then once they're there, they can window shop your other products and services. Finally, get their email address. Content-driven marketing is cost-effective with social media, but you don't own that audience until you get that email. Once you have that, you can reach out periodically, and you should reach out consistently via an email roll-up of your social media posts. So here again is that same content calendar. It's really simple. Headlines and dates help get a more bird's eye view of the flow and the story arc that you can lead somebody through, and then the sub-bullets will drive the key points that you want to make within your posts. So note also that the top portion up here is, I've got some just tips for myself to remember, is that, my best day and time. Each post I want to have a real story in it. Each has a tip. All of them I'm going to source thoroughly, related links, teaser, etc., etc. So that's my content outline. Next, I want to tell you a story about the Pink Pig. So the Pink Pig is the landscape company I talked to you about, and they wanted to do a 90-day plan, so to be ready for spring. And so what we did in December is we went through all the different Wednesdays, and then we decided we're going to do one for every week. So that would be 13 social posts. We looked for dates that were kind of around the important time, New Year's, Christmas, Groundhog's Day, Valentine's Day, so that we could be mindful of what dates that we could kind of tap into what people are thinking. And so the idea is to take these posts, run them through social and email. So the deal would be is we would post one social post every Wednesday, and then the last, either twice or just the last Wednesday of the month, we would run an email campaign out to our email audience that sums up the post that we had put up for the month. So it's kind of an assembly line. We're not getting crazy creative with the email. It's just they're both putting out the same content in different ways and kind of different time frames. So that's what this means. And then this is just to kind of talk about the fact that this is a reminder that we have two different types of audiences. We have contractors and retailers. Contractors make up 75%, so that's why that's there, just to remind us who our audience is. And then we're going to the website. Now, what we're trying to do is the biggest thing that one of the owners of the company said is that most people don't know what products we have. And so we've designed these posts so that when you come to the site and you click on the site, then you're going to scroll down past the products to the promotion down mid-page. And that's, again, to kind of show them, there's some other stuff. And I'll show you that really quickly. So this is their website. And when we hit a post, watch, when I click on this, it scrolls me down to the showroom. And so the point of the social post is to scroll people past things and then let them see these products that somebody on their way down, because then they can kind of like explore these products, because so that's kind of a dual purpose. And then they'll scroll past and see all this stuff. And then one of our latest posts was down at the end here. So this was one of our posts, 10% off. So that's an example of that. So the other part when I said was, what do we want them to do? I also wanted to explain some of the things that we've said. So the first thing we want somebody to do if they're going to our site is we can take some online transactions. And so we want somebody to do that. That's the first thing we want them to do, because we really don't have to hold their hands if they're ordering firewood or mulch online. They can place their order. It goes into the system. They set their delivery date. They know everything. People get their orders. That's really the best kind of sale we can make. So that's why that's the top thing. Now, we only sell a couple of things online, And so the very next thing we want them to do if they're not going to buy firewood or mulch online is to come to the store. So that's the second most important thing. So again, our design and everything reflects getting them to the website, making sure they know that they can buy online, and then going, come to our store, come to our store. So that's the second thing. The third thing, if they're not ready to come to the store and they're not kind of ready to order online, well, we have this Drift Chat, which I've talked about in the past. And we want them to engage with the Drift Chat because different people can cover that chat very easily. And it's a little bit easier than a phone call, which is after the Drift Chat. So that's why a call is next. And then the fifth thing we want them to do is, if you're not going to do any of that, can you give us your email address so we can work up a relationship there? And the last thing we want you to do is to follow us on social. So that's kind of the order. And I want to show you this little video here that was done with some interns. We went there, we interviewed somebody to kind of discuss things. I was walking around with a 360 camera. One of the interns was walking around with another camera, just kind of filming that. And we used a customer who was there to borrow his truck to kind of stage loading the salt. And then we had another intern, Sam, put this video together. It was a really efficient little commercial we made for salt. It was done with interns. That's just an example of one of the posts that we posted actually this week. And we actually did it while it was snowing on Monday and Tuesday. We actually ran a Facebook ad to promote that. So that's my story for today. Next week, we're going to have the periodic table of marketing elements. So look forward to that. I highly encourage you to kind of walk through the sources to where a lot of this information I presented to you today. And I look forward to talking to you next week.